It's a great pleasure to speak to the folks at IFM always. With regard to your question, my journey to IFM was after 4 years of a work experience at a software company called Capgemini in Pune. It was a multinational software company. So after 4 years of working there, I realized what I did not want to do, and that's where I took the decision. I always had an interest in the environmental studies, and since I wanted to go in for a higher education as well, so my most preferred choice was going in for a sectoral MBA, and IFM was the answer to my question. After IFM, I got campus recruited with the as a young professional with the Odisha Livelihoods Mission, and I spent a good 3 to 4 years understanding the government systems, understanding how they function, um, managing programs of various sizes. My specialization there was conservation and livelihood, so I did work a lot on livelihood programs as well. But after 3 years, I made a switch, and I worked with the Abdul Latif Jameel Poverty Action Lab, the lab which has been formed by the Nobel laureates Abhijit Banerjee and Esther Duflo. I worked there as a senior project associate, and I was the nodal person for the state of Odisha. So a lot of work on the policy front, and my work of working with the governments actually helped me give this experience of advocacy and policy with the government workers. So right now, I'm currently working as a consultant to the government of Odisha with the finance department, where we do monitoring and evaluation of government schemes and programs. But alongside, I've also started my own enterprise called Seba Green Solutions. So I'm doing both of them simultaneously. IFM always brings up very special memories to all of us. I mean, be it the hostel parties, be it the mess ka khana, be it the pani ka tanki, or even Nehru Nagar Asha Sweets joints, Andheri Gali, Leopard's Cares when when we were there. I think they all are very special. They all are etched in my memories. But yes, one thing that I'll be really thankful to IFM was that it helped me realize what I actually wanted to do. It gave me a good platform to venture ahead and take those steps in the areas of sustainability, environment, livelihoods. So yes, I'm very thankful to the teachers, the professors, the resources, all of them at IFM, my peer group, my seniors and juniors, for all those wonderful memories. I don't think I can pinpoint it, to any one particular person, or maybe a one particular uh, resource who actually has made an influence on my career. But I would say I would like to credit the influence to more on the city to which I grew up in. I think Jamshedpur, it was an industrial city, and yet it is a city which keeps nature and environment very close to its residents. So that has been a great influence when I was growing up. But otherwise, it has just been circumstances and my interest areas that have caused the direction of my career, or the caused the direction of my path. So it's very essential that you know what you want to do, or what you are interested in, what your interests lie in, and then take it ahead and pursue it. So yeah, I wouldn't pinpoint at any one particular. Families, friends, peers, the city in which you grew up, all have been responsible. So the expedition has been a really profound part of my journey in my life currently. I mean, the journey started right from 2018 when I undertook actually the plastic free July experience. So it was a month of living without single use plastic, without disposable plastic, and I just wanted to understand as whether that would be possible or not. So after a month of experiencing of undergoing the plastic free July challenge, I thought that I should go in for a bit more. I try to understand actually. I read this quote called "The greatest threat to the planet is the belief that somebody else will save it." And I started finding out who is this person, as to who's written, who's Sir Robert Swan, and who is he. That's when I came to know about his polar explorations to the North Pole, to the South Pole. He's the first person in history to walk to both the North Pole and the South Pole, and that every year he organizes these expeditions to bring the youth to be a part of a climate leadership program, to understand as to how uh, climate change is happening in these polar regions. So that's when the interest awoke, and I applied for this expedition. It was also at that time when we were struck with the cyclone Fani. And it was a very significant impact in my life, because for a month or two, we were without electricity, we were without water supplies, and it was a very tough period during that time. And all this just came together. I wanted to understand how the changes are there in the Arctic, how they are affecting Odisha, how they are affecting India. And that's when I went ahead and applied for the expedition. But getting to be selected wasn't the tough part. The toughest part was the fundraising, where you had to fundraise for nearly 13.5 lakhs. And I think that was something that I learned a lot about. How do you pitch, how do you raise funds, who are those people in your networks or in your professional networks who can help you, what is the kind of relationship you've been having all these years, how have you honed your relationship, what social good or what social causes are those things that people can actually connect with. So I went ahead, and it was a complete 8-month process of fundraising. I crowdfunded. I also raised sponsorships with corporates, and I finally managed to be part of the expedition in June 2019. And meeting Sir Robert Swan has been a great experience. More than why I wanted to go for the expedition, it was who I wanted to go for the expedition, and Sir Robert Swan definitely was one of those people. So yeah, a lot of things you realize that all the things that happen in the Arctic, they just don't remain in the Arctic. They make an impact in our country, in our lifestyle, in our agriculture, in our weather patterns, in our food effects. So it's all a circular effect. So when we went to the Arctic, we found a lot of plastic there. I mean, even in the high reaches of the planet, there were bottles, cigarette lighters, fishing nets, and those various things that actually one wasn't expecting. Also at the Arctic, the on one of the days, the temperature was around 11 degrees centigrade, which was something that we were not anticipating, since we were prepared with sub-zero temperature clothing also. I think these little things have made an impact on me, and I realized that I needed to do something at the ground level uh, by which I could influence people to at least give up single-use plastics. And what are those things that we could do to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions by any small way possible. So the few things that I did after we came back from the Arctic was having solar energy in our place. So we switched to renewable energy. And the other thing that I did definitely was form this organization called SIBA Green Solutions, which was focused towards waste management. Now we realize that if we segregate our waste properly, we send very little waste to the landfill. Now, if little waste goes to the landfill, that means anaerobic decomposition does not happen, and methane and dioxide are not emitted. So the kitchen waste or the wet waste that is generated, if we can compost it, we can give it back to the soil. So it rejuvenates our soil quality as well. The other that we segregate, like plastic or even papers, can be sent in for recycling rather than going into the landfills. And it also gives a livelihood to the rag pickers and the kabadi walas as well. So that was where this entire interest in the waste management sector also started. Also, once I came back from the Arctic, and my walk to my office place showed me these sites of where children would be collecting bottles from the landfills and the dump yards. There would be they had no sanitary aspects at all, no gloves, plain hands. People were burning leaves just because it was a dump. They were burning e-waste, and that's where I thought that, I have to do something about it. Rather than feeling helpless about it, I thought this was an area where I could make a positive contribution. So that's when SIBA Green Solutions started. And SIBA comes from the name of the tree called Bombax Ciba. Right in front of the mess, there is a Bombax Ciba tree. So yes, so SIBA is the genus of the tree. These are unprecedented times for all of us. I mean, be it for working professionals, be it for small entrepreneurs like me, or even for people who are pursuing their studies right now. But I mean, as always, we know that tough times do not last, tough people do. So I think this is the right time for collaboration. People of your batch, your junior batch, you should collaborate well, and do what can be the best for a batch ideally. Also, I would advise people to like, this is a right time to actually uh, start those individual projects at your level, which you've never found time for, or maybe what are those things that interest you. Take up courses, like Udemy. There are a lot of platforms which offer these Google courses, which offer a lot of courses. Find your interest areas, be it finance, livelihood, conservation. uh, Read a lot of articles, op-eds, form your opinion pieces, submit to even newspaper articles and all, because these form a great background for your CVs and for your resumes as to how you have utilized this time well. So definitely there's a lot to do. One needs to expand your portfolio and understand the various viewpoints people have. So yeah, learning is definitely the key by which one can go ahead. IFM has given such a great platform to all of us, and the learnings about environment or sustainability have all come from our alma mater. So we need to take ahead those learnings. We need to take ahead all the knowledge that our great professors have given us. All of them are really good. The campus itself is so beautiful and so nice and inviting that
Yes,
we all do miss it.